Today, we're getting cheesy and we're making more delicious homemade vegan cheese recipes. I have 4 brand new recipes for you, so let's get into it. Starting off with vegan veggie cream cheese. Before I went vegan, veggie cream cheese was my favorite. So we're going to start with some high protein milk, either pea protein milk, soy milk, or any non-dairy milk that has at least 7 grams of protein. Add in lemon juice and you'll start to see that curdling right away. But we're going to bring this to the stove and let it cook. In the meantime, I'm just going to put all my veggies in the food processor. I did celery, scallions, bell pepper, carrot, and red onion, but feel free to add in what you like, customize to your preferences, and just blend the veggies up until they're really nice and small. And then I'm going to put these in a bowl and line the bowl with some paper towel, and then I'll put another paper towel over it. We want to get some of the water out of the veggies so that way it doesn't thin our vegan cream cheese too much. So set that to the side. Our curds are developing. This is going to cook on the stove for about 15 minutes. And yeah, now we are just going to separate the curds and the whey. So we're going to do this by taking a bowl. We're going to put a strainer on top and cheesecloth. And then we are going to start to scoop out the mixture onto the cheesecloth. I like to scoop first, and then once I've gotten enough out of the pot, I'll pour it in. But just be careful, of course, because everything is hot. This was just boiling. I'll gently move the cheesecloth around, and then you can let this sit for 10 minutes or up to 30 minutes. But you want it to cool enough that you can handle it, because then we're going to squeeze the cheesecloth bag. So if it's too hot and you can't touch it yet, just wait, because I don't want you to get burnt in the process. So after we do that, we're going to be left with all these amazing curds, which is really, really cool. It's so awesome, but you need a high protein milk to do this. It won't work with like almond milk or cashew milk or something like that. And there we go, vegan curds. Pop those into the food processor, or you could use a blender, but since I already had the little food processor out, I just used that. We're going to add in salt and nutritional yeast. If you would like to leave the nutritional yeast out, you can. And I'm going to add in a few spoonfuls of the whey. This is a great way to use the leftover whey, but I'll have more ideas for you in the blog post on that. And then we're just going to blend it up. I like to slowly add in the whey so I can control the creaminess and texture, but a few spoonfuls and then blend, and then a few spoonfuls and blend. And once it gets super creamy, you'll know when it gets to your desired consistency. You kind of want it to look smooth, like a smooth hummus. And it's so simple to do. And if you want other vegan cream cheese recipes, I've done a maple vegan cream cheese, and then just this plain one is just plain. And now you can just scoop this into a bowl, and then I'm going to add in my veggies and we will mix. And it's so simple to do. It was so delicious. And don't worry, I'm the only one eating this. That's why I used my fingers to scoop it off. So I'm just adding in my veggies, and you can really just play around and have so much fun with the vegetables that you add in there. Just make sure you're not adding anything that's like too watery. I personally probably wouldn't do tomatoes, but if you like tomatoes, add them in. Maybe a sun-dried tomato, that would be good. And some olives and jalapenos, zucchini. The possibilities are endless. Mix this up, and then you can enjoy this right away. But I personally like to pop it in the fridge for at least 30 minutes. This way it really has time to chill and set, and it thickens a little. And in the meantime, I made my protein bagels. That recipe is on plantfullybasedblog.com and on YouTube. And then I cut it open and I just spread a bunch of that vegan cream cheese on there. And it was so good and so delicious. And of course, we got to look at it in the middle. On to our next one. We're making vegan whipped ricotta. The whipped ricotta was all the rage last year, and I'm a little late to the party, but maybe we'll just bring it back. So I just opened up my tofu container. We are using firm tofu, and you don't need to press it or anything. Just pop it right into the blender. This is so easy. We're going to add in olive oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil here, salt, and a little lemon juice. And that is it. I love how easy this recipe is. And honestly, you could even use this as a vegan cream cheese recipe too. If you don't feel like doing the curds thing, you could kind of use this as vegan cream cheese. But it comes out so thick and creamy. Blend it for about a minute, as long as it takes, just that everything gets smooth. It's going to be this really nice thick consistency. And then the fun part is you could put it into a piping bag and pipe it onto toast. So I have my nice bread here. I'm cutting some pieces. I pop this in the oven just to lightly toast it. You could put it in the toaster, you could put it in a pan. And then I'm going to take a few scoops of that vegan whipped ricotta, put it into a piping bag that I just made a nice big cut of the tip off. You want it to be a pretty big circle so we can make these big, beautiful swirls in a second. And then all you need to do is move back and forth, and look at how gorgeous that looks. It's so fun to pipe this because it's so easy to work with and it's just delicious. And then you can make it a little fancy if you like. You could drizzle some extra olive oil on top. You could do some black pepper, red pepper, sea salt, lemon zest. You can really have fun and go crazy with this. I put some other ideas in the blog post if you want to check them out, but it's such a fun dish. There are so many ways to use it. I think this would be so fun on a plate with some roasted potatoes or jammy tomatoes, on sandwiches. Like I said, you could use it like vegan cream cheese. And I also really like to use it in pasta because it makes it creamy and it's just really good. I think it's one of those things that you could batch prep in the beginning of the week and then just keep in the fridge. It'll last for about 4 to 5 days. I always like to say that as the time frame because kind of after that, you should always be a little weary of the food in your fridge. So that's vegan whipped ricotta. Next up, we're making vegan cottage cheese. This is one that so many people asked for and I stayed away from it for a long time. The process is similar to the vegan cream cheese. We're adding in non-dairy milk, salt, and lemon juice. Again, we are bringing this to the stove. We're going to cook it for about 15 minutes. Let it come to a boil and then drop the heat and just continue to let it cook. But your start time is like 0 to 15 minutes. That's all you need to do. Super simple. And then we just are going to do the same thing as the cheesecloth. We're just going to pop it all in there, let it cool, and then squeeze out the whey. And some ideas that for you to do with the leftover whey is you could use it in bread, soups, salad dressings. You could freeze it and use it later. There's a lot of uses for it, so don't feel like you have to throw it out or like it's wasteful. There's ways to use it, and it's all covered in my blog post. And always the ingredients and anything I think you may need are written out down below. Now, after it cooled and I squeezed it out, I was like, okay, how are we going to make this creamy? And my best idea was just to throw in some vegan yogurt because really cottage cheese is just curds with a little cream in it. So I just threw in some vegan yogurt to keep it simple. If you want to make a cashew cream or something, you can, but the vegan yogurt does the trick. It also adds in a little bit of tang and acidity, and that's it. You could add in a little more salt if you want. Mix it up. Be careful when you mix it because the curds are a little fragile. You don't want to turn this into a smooth texture. If you know what I mean, you don't want to break the curds down. You just want it to be creamy. Pop this in the fridge for 30 minutes. Again, you could eat this right away, but I do think it's better when it's chilled. And then you can enjoy it with fruit, with vegetables, with anything you want. I had it with like pickled kimchi and it was so good and so comforting and delicious. So I just cut up some strawberries. I spread it on a plate and topped it with strawberries. I am really glad I finally made some vegan cottage cheese. Like I said, I stayed away from it because honestly, I didn't really like cottage cheese before I went vegan. So I was like, I don't really feel like making the recipe, but I really enjoyed this. And something else I want to say is if you don't feel like making the curds, I think a good substitute would be to crumble some tofu and then brine it in salt water, like how we do with the tofu feta and vegan mozzarella. So that's another option, but this was really good, really creamy, really delicious, and it's fun. I'm glad that we did it. For our last recipe, we're making a vegan cashew mozzarella. We have done a lot of vegan mozzarellas here. This is a different kind. So we're going to start by taking some refined coconut oil, melting that in the microwave. And then I have my soaked cashews. I just soaked these for 30 minutes with boiling water, or you could boil them for 30 minutes, whatever you like to do. Then we're going to add in the coconut oil, non-dairy milk. I'm using Ripple pea protein for everything, but in this case, you can use an almond milk or cashew milk or whatever. We're going to add in nutritional yeast and salt. And then this is agar powder and tapioca starch. The agar powder helps to solidify it and it comes in a package like this. It's made from seaweed. And the tapioca starch is from the cassava root and it helps to make it stretchy and gooey. I don't have substitutes for those. I recommend you following the recipe the way it is. So I'm going to first blend all this stuff for a minute. So not adding in the agar and the tapioca starch yet, just to not warm them up and activate them. We just want to blend those cashews down and get everything really nice and smooth. And if you are nut-free, I have a great nut-free vegan mozzarella recipe. So then we're going to add in our agar powder and tapioca flour, and we're going to blend this again just for 15 seconds. We don't want to overblend this. And this is going to help get it integrated in here really well. We want this to be blended. Don't obviously try to mix this in by hand. Just blend it. Then we're going to pour this into a pot. We're going to bring this over to the stove and we are going to cook it. Cooking it helps to activate the tapioca starch and agar powder. So you're going to want to cook this over a medium-low heat for about 12 to 15 minutes until it thickens up. You could see the difference here. And if this is your first time using agar powder, it should not be a gel. It should be smooth and not grainy or gritty. You shouldn't see like granules of gel in there. So if you want to cook it for a little longer, just to be sure that everything activated, you can. I'm popping this in a greased little container. I'm going to pop that in the fridge for an hour, remove it, and now we have this amazing cashew vegan mozzarella. You can eat it plain or you can cook it. It doesn't shred very well because it's a little bit too soft. If you wanted to up the agar a little bit to see if it will solidify more for shredding, or pop it in the freezer. But this is better for cutting, cubing, slicing. And I just wanted to make like a little tortilla pizza with it for you guys. So I just spread some sauce on my little tortilla, and then I cut the vegan mozzarella into little pieces and I popped it on there, and I baked it in the oven for about 15 minutes. And yeah, it's just another great recipe and way to make vegan cheese. So I hope these helped you out. I hope you enjoy them. If you try them out, let me know what you think. Let me know how it goes. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And I have plenty more vegan cheese recipes for you on the channel.